Hello. Hello.
All right, here's an introduction to this conversation with Jennie A. Walker. We talked a lot before getting on, after we got on, just so much in the conversation. So I wanted to add to this a couple of things. One theme that came up, we talked about themes, but one thing we didn't talk about was saying yes to the right thing, which led to the question, how do you know when it's the right thing? How do you know to say yes? And the things to look for is, are you following in your purpose? Does this align with your purpose? If it does, then you know to say yes to the opportunity that's in front of you. There's so much more to our conversation. Tune in, enjoy. All right, here we go. Another episode of Confidence Conversations with Idara. And with me, I have the lovely Jennie A. Walker today. Thank you so much for joining this conversation, Jennie.
Thank you, Dara. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, I'll start with an introduction and go over what is sort of a high-level summary of your career, specifically just the work that you've done. Now, your formal title is Senior Executive, Senior Education Consultant, specifically clinical education. To hear your work described, it sounds like you are curating educational experiences for a variety of people in leadership roles, including clinical and administrative roles. You're not only looking at what the theme is that's relevant to the education, but making sure that you're putting together the entire experience, the variety of speakers that makes it such that they get the most out of attending that educational experience. And so it really does end up being a full experience. The titles only says so much, but that is what has come across in terms of you describing the work that you do now. And over the last 10 years, you've done something similar, basically in executive education. And before that, the biggest chunk was in the nonprofit sector, where you went through a number of different roles, including being a membership director. So you interface with the clientele of the nonprofits, making sure that they have the access that they needed and that you had opportunities to grow membership as well. Somewhere in there, you also threw in admissions advisor. And so you've touched education, you've touched nonprofit, and there's also been some overlap in the work that you've done. And those are the biggest chunks of the work that you've done. And easily, apparently, 2 decades can fly by when you do that sort of meaningful work. So that's the impressive impact that you've had. And I want to make sure before I go on that I've not left off any part of the work that you've done in this introduction.
Yeah, I would say, well, thank you. You're hired. I will hire you for all of my introductions. Very first job was at In-N-Out Burger. And so that was a span of 7 years. So I traveled all over California, Arizona, and Nevada, opening up brand new In-N-Out Burgers. And I started as a regular associate. And then I moved all the way up to a training manager. And then I moved up into mid-level management. So it's been such a rewarding experience. So I've always in some capacity done training and education, and I just didn't know it. But I have just a knack for helping people grow and serving others.
I love that chunk of the work there, and it conveys a degree of adventure that isn't always what we associate with work. When you talk about that traveling and opening different In-N-Out burgers, it has an element of adventure that we often don't experience or maybe recognize in the work that we've done. But it's quite a breadth of impact, because that's different industries as well over the course of your career. It has an
Yes.
element of, there's a degree of boldness that has to come with being willing to change. And while there might be a reason for it in the moment, what you've ended up doing is changing careers. At the very least, we can categorize it as changing industry, if nothing else. And that takes a degree of boldness, and it takes a confidence, a self-confidence in what it is that you've come there to do, to be able to pivot. How would you define or describe confidence?
For me, confidence is knowing who you are, knowing your purpose, knowing where you're going, and also trusting that you don't know and that you don't need to know all the time. I think so many times in my career, I have a type A personality. I want to know, I want to control. But I've learned in my latter career that a big part of it is not knowing and just trusting that wherever you're supposed to be, you're exactly where you're supposed to be on time. Yeah. There's
Knowing
too
and
many things we can't
trusting.
control. Yeah. It's knowing who you are
Yeah.
and also growing. I think it's a continuum, growing into who you are supposed to be in your purposeful life. Who I thought I was when I graduated high school in 1999 is not who I am in 2025, which is a good thing. But if you were to ask, the recently graduated out of high school, Jenny, where she thought she was going, what she was doing in life, I would have told you I didn't know. And if you ask me that today, I still don't know. And it's okay not to know. I
Yes.
think so many times we try to be the author of our life.
Mhm.
There's only so much we can control, which is probably this much. Everything that happens to us is within our control. How we react, how we handle situations when they don't go our way,
Yeah.
how we handle life when it doesn't go our way, when unexpected death happens, when the good happens, and when nothing's happening.
Right.
What do we do? So I would say knowing who you are in that moment. Who are you standalone? Who am I as the daughter? Who am I as a sister? Who am I as the niece? As the coworker? Who am I individually? I think that has a lot to do with where you're going in life. If you know who you are and you're confident in that, anything that comes at you, you'll either embrace or you'll pivot and just adapt to.
That's so beautifully said. Knowing, trusting, and growing. And the growing component is something that, as long as you're moving, it's part of your journey. But it also comes from a willingness to evolve. I love your calling out growing as part of the journey. And it's so interesting for you to call yourself, type A and a need for control, and yet simultaneously recognizing that you can't control everything, which is what allows you to experience some things that you may not have otherwise. You say that when you were finishing high school, you didn't know and you still don't know. I think a lot of us think we know at those younger times and have a plan, and out of a sense of responsibility and expectations, a number of different things follow those paths, which is that's not a right or wrong, but you think you know. And part of growing, part of maturing is recognizing that you don't know. You don't know everything. You can know yourself, trust yourself, be willing to grow, and that moves you forward. That is beautifully said.
Thank you. Yeah, trust is hard, but you have to trust yourself. And it comes at time. Trust your judgment. And trust who you are in the moment.
Yeah,
Right?
indeed.
You may not be where you want to be at in that moment, but trust that whatever's going on is shaping you for where you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
Right? You again, it's an evolution, it's a continuum. If you think you've stopped growing, that's a bad thing. Everything in life is teaching us something. Every person, every situation, every circumstance is teaching us, whether it be resiliency, whether it be the ability to pivot and adapt, or whether it be to slow down, which I've had to also learn. I'm a very fast paced person, and I've had to learn slow and steady wins the race. You
as
know,
cliche as it
um,
sounds.
yeah, it's so true. It's life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah,
And it's tough. It's tough to slow down and to just say, "Hey, where am I at?" And as messy as you are, be unapologetically you. I think that is the most important thing is to sometimes sit in the moment and reflect because we're always on from one thing to the next.
yes.
Just sit in it. Just sit in the moment and just reflect. What is this trying to teach me?
Yeah,
Right? I mean, everything in life. Here's an example. I was on my way to my office last week and Waze,
yeah.
it had me go a different route to work. I didn't know why, and I was like, do I go against Waze or do I go with it? Went with it, went down, certain freeways, and it said I was 7 minutes away from work. Traffic is stopped on the freeway.
Oh, well.
And I was like, what's going on? I was a couple of cars ahead of, whatever's going on. And unfortunately, someone had jumped off the bridge.
Oh,
And, and I was like, what's going on? And, then, traffic, opens up and then you realize, hey, someone's just lost their life.
right.
In that moment, I got to my office and I just said, thank you, God, for letting me get to work safely because someone else won't be able to make it home. Got to work, knew I wasn't okay. My boss said I could go home. I would say the whole entire day, I reflected on what was this trying to teach me? What was this trying to teach me? And I will say that that instance taught me that whatever we think is a big deal, whatever we're upset about, it really doesn't matter. And I trusted in the fact that Wade was going to take me that way because I needed to learn a lesson to
Mm,
slow down, to reflect, to call people if they cross my mind,
yes.
and just to be thankful to be alive.
Mhm.
Because whatever that person unfortunately was going through was so difficult that they felt like that was what the solution was. And I say all that as sad as it might sound, the positive in it is where it led me to slow down and reflect on my own life. And it said, I'm so grateful to have my home. I'm grateful to have a job. I'm grateful to have loved ones. I called several people that day just to check in
Yes.
because you don't realize that not a lot of people are okay.
Yeah.
And we're oftentimes going so fast that we forget to slow down and just be thankful for where we are and grateful.
And to your point, it is a somber reality. Sometimes that is what it takes to snap us out of moments where we are not present, where we're not mindful of the good things that are happening. So to be in a space of gratitude makes everything that's around you that much richer. And like you, I've made a habit of reaching out when people come to mind. If something reminds me for whatever reason, it's a call, it's a text or something, and you never know what people are going through. And sometimes an outreach is all that people need to be reminded that someone's thinking of them, someone cares, and we have all the technology to make it easier than ever
Right.
before. So many ways of reaching out. So it's an important reminder of being present, just sitting for a moment. And in so many ways, there is power in pausing. It buys you so much and a different perspective more often than not, or redirection, like this example that you've given. It's a moment of frustration for you, but the redirection came with its own lesson.
And imagine how many times in a day we encounter something, traffic. I have to get to my kids' practice and pick them up. But that spilled milk was supposed to happen because you were supposed to be exactly where you're supposed to
Yep.
be at that time. Maybe you were supposed to meet someone
Mm-hmm.
that ended up being, someone impactful in your career.
Yeah.
But had you not had that milk spill, you would have missed that person at that particular time. So I think, again, it's taking those moments and saying, hey, I'm just going to lean with it. I'm going to pivot. I'm running late, but it's okay.
Right.
It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be late. Not all the time, but it's okay to be late and to recognize that those things happen for a reason,
Yes,
right?
they do.
And again, it's just reflecting on who you are and where you're at in that moment.
And sometimes we can trace back exactly what purpose that being served, but I suspect that there are a lot of times like that what we don't find out what it was that we've been spared or avoided by by having that minor inconvenience redirect you. I think that things like that happen all the time and ultimately things work out.
Yeah, it's a great. You can either look at a situation as a complete setback, or you can look at it as a set up for something bigger and better, right?
Yep. So the knowing, trusting, and growing shows up in a number of different ways, including just leaning into moments where you have to pause. Now, what's a time in your career where confidence, you know that confidence made a difference?
Yeah, I would definitely say I went to Stanford University and I applied for a job. So I had took a leap of faith. I had a colleague at the Academy of Art University, And I really didn't like the job. It was more salesy, and I didn't really feel like I was making an impact on the students' lives. And my colleague's like, why don't you apply at Stanford? And I was like, what's Stanford? I've heard of the school. She's like, oh, just apply. So I started looking at jobs, and I applied for a student residential services coordinator position and applied for the job. Actually got called, did a phone interview, and I got called for in-person interview. So I went, showed up, and they were running behind for my interview. And so as they ran behind, they said, give us about 5, 10 minutes. So I walked around, just a little area there. And at the Graduate School of Business, there was a quote on the wall, and it said, dedicated to the things that haven't happened yet and the people who are about to dream them up. That quote carried me through that interview. Read it and was like, whatever. Got in the interview, felt very confident. At the very end of the interview, I had said to the panelists, I said, whatever your decision is, I know I am meant to work here. So I look forward to hearing from you soon. So a few days later, I get a call and they said, oh, unfortunately, we decided, to go with another candidate. And I was like, okay, lump in my throat, took a
Mhm.
swallow and said, wow, they went with someone else. I said, okay, do you mind me asking why? And they said, oh, well, the person had been here several years at Stanford. And I said, oh, completely understood. I said, but could you keep me in mind should future positions open? Let's say about a week to 10 days later, I get another call back and they offer me to apply for a second position that they had opened up because they really liked me. And I got the position.
Nice.
So that quote alone, I will repeat it again, dedicated to the things that haven't happened yet and the people who are about to dream them up. I didn't know that my purpose in education was part of my dream. It has always been my dream, educating, helping people. As I think back to my first job at In-N-Out, as I think right now to my work as a consultant with physicians, these are the dreams that help people as a servant leader. And I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. So having the confidence to sit in an interview at Stanford University to say, I'm meant to be here. Even if you choose someone else, I'm meant to work here. I had confidence to say that. Now, I said before, I may not have said that that carries me through every interview process that I go through. I
Mhm.
don't say that out loud, but I carry that I have dreams and they're going to come true, whether or not I get a certain position. And that's happened several other times in my career too, where I may not have gotten a job that I was like, oh, on paper, slam dunk, should have gotten it. And it led me to exactly where I'm supposed to be today. So, again, as I said before, trusting in the process
Yeah.
and knowing your purpose. That wasn't my purpose. That other job, it wasn't my purpose.
Yes.
It wasn't my time,
Right.
but now is my time.
Right. And speaking of not your purpose, the other comment that you made was part of what brought on the conversation about looking for something else was recognizing that you didn't want to be in a role that was salesy. That was not your style. It may be the right thing for someone else, but it was not for you. And also honoring what's not right for you is part of getting yourself going in the direction of what is the right thing to do. So then led the conversation with Stanford and then the actual job, which was not what you went in for, but what I heard you say, Jennie, is that the position was created for you.
Yes, absolutely. It was created. They were like, we really, really want you on our team. So we created a second position. And I was like, great, I'll take it. And every job thereafter has been one that I have been either crossed paths with someone who has been like, I think you'd be a great fit for this
Yeah,
role,
yeah.
or just a conversation that I've had with someone or someone that's seen my talent and my skill and said, I want that, and felt like I would be a good fit. So, again, that is a trusting that I've done and the relinquishing of the control I thought that I needed in my life, where I'm like, type A, it has to be this way, I've realized that it's part of my growth. If what I thought I was going to do and what I am doing, if I think I'm done here, I'm only just beginning. I'm just scratching the surface.
Throughout our conversation, I'm hearing a couple of recurring themes. So it lends itself to this next question, which is what has been a recurring yet unplanned theme in your career?
Meeting people and networking. I think one of the key themes here for me in my life is I'm always interviewing and I don't know it. We all are interviewing
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some capacity. Just who you are and how you show up, it can either draw people into you or draw them away from you. And each one of the jobs that I've had, it's been unplanned. I just had a conversation this past weekend with some colleagues talking about what's your next career move? And I said, I don't know, but I love what I do now.
Yeah.
And I don't know is okay because where I'm at now, I'm content and I'm happy and I'm continuing to grow. But the best part is the unplanned part because someone that felt like I needed control early on in my career and most of my life has been great to just relinquish the control to say, hey, wherever God wants me to be, I'm going to be there and who I'm going to meet. I've had countless conversations with people who ended up being my boss or saying, hey, I think you'd be a great fit for this job. That's why I don't feel the need to worry
Yeah.
about what tomorrow brings
Yeah.
because I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I don't have to, the money, people worry about the money. Fall into your purpose, who you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to serve in the process of being yourself. Because I like to think as a servant leader, it's not about me, it's about others. What can I do and bestow upon others to make them better?
Mhm.
Because in the process, and it's actually it's in giving that we receive. So I never worry about what I'm gonna get because I'm always gonna be taken care of. It's about taking care of others and just pouring into people. Conversations just lead. Yeah, food and conversations to me are two of the best things I could, besides sleep.
The
But
important things.
conversations, yeah,
Yeah.
conversations I have with people such as yourself, where things have led. And again, you don't know what doors will open as a result, but just being you, just being authentically you.
Yeah. It absolutely makes a difference. And when you are comfortable being yourself, you will attract what is actually compatible with you and for you.
You have to believe it,
Yeah.
right? You have to believe that.
There's an attraction that happens with that groundedness, that it creates a degree of certainty, even in the unknown. It's like you don't know all of it, but that groundedness and being true to yourself really does draw. You talk about attracting certain things and then repelling other things. And it goes in both directions. You will attract to you the things that are akin to what it is that you're essentially kind of putting out there and recognizing, is this meant for me? Yes, it's meant for me. I'll go with it. And if it's not, for whatever reason, you take the lesson and you move on to the next thing.
You said something earlier about something doesn't serve you. Knowing when it doesn't serve you, I think is key. Because I think what we try to do as women is we try to push through. It'll get better. You hope, you wish. And if it doesn't serve your soul, it's not right. Move on. Because if you don't take care of yourself, there's an now, we all have gotten on planes or, most of us have put the mask on yourself before you help anyone else.
Mhm.
Because if your cup is low, how can you pour in and pour into others and be the best version of yourself
Yeah.
for others
Yeah.
as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter, as a colleague, as a boss?
Yeah.
So again, if this isn't serving you, figure out what does. Because if you're not happy, it will spill out into all aspects of your life. And if you're not, and if you're trying to figure out your purpose, talk to people who are around you who will be honest and tell you, hey, this isn't serving you and it's not a good look.
Yeah. They see the patterns, and people who know you can also tell you. The other thing about that, talking about serving, is sometimes what we don't realize is when something has changed. There's what you thought you were getting into, and then you realize, oh, that's not it. And sometimes people hold on to their original commitment out of a sense of integrity or values. Well, I said I was going to. Let me keep my word, let me honor, without recognizing that something has changed. And something has changed. This is not what you signed up for. This is not the original agreement. This is not that initial contract. This was not what you thought you were signing up for. You have to release yourself from it. That's often what people are struggling to maintain, is their commitment, which is honorable, but not recognizing that the commitment has changed. Something has changed on the other end in the circumstance. That's when it's important to let it go. It's not serving the initial purpose for which it was intended. That's often the message that we miss. Oh, and thanks for bringing us back to that. One of the things you mentioned earlier was conversations, and that being sort of a recurring theme. The other thing you mentioned earlier was also education and training, that it had been happening all along. What I hear in conversations and training, and it's ultimately relationships with people, whether you're facilitating, being on the receiving end, being present so that people get to know you and know exactly where to point you. It's those relationships that have been ongoing and have been part of the conversation that introduces the next thing and keeps things going. And even so, flow, things ebb and flow, things kind of fluctuate over time. Sometimes it's great, there's good, there's not so good. What do you do when you need, if and when you need a confidence boost?
I do several things. I love to eat and I love to have conversations, as I told you. I'll just pick up the phone and call a friend and I'll have a dinner, I'll have a lunch. If they're not available, just have a FaceTime chat. We all have technology, but we don't use it. And so, many times we're in our own heads about maybe something that's going on or something we're frustrated with. And oftentimes we ruminate over it. And so you get down on yourself. You're like, well, I'm starting a doctorate program right now. I've done a lot of ruminating in the last week. I've had some
Congratulations, by the
glimpses.
way.
Thank you. I've had some glimpses of imposter syndrome. Like, oh my gosh, am I meant for this? And I'll oftentimes call my dad. My dad's probably the first one I
Nice.
call, who will give me that tough love. I'd love to say that he's like, oh, sweetheart, you got this. No, it's complete opposite. He reminds me of who I am, what I am, and where I'm going, and the options that I have to either quit or, turn on beast mode and just do it. And either I fall into fear or I fall into success. And so my dad always said the key to success is being prepared. So preparation's key. So, I try to get out of my own head. I also have a collection of cards, which I don't have in front of me, from people from
Mhm.
many, many years ago, my career, whether I supervise them, I just met them. Thank you cards.
Yeah.
Thank you cards just telling me the level of impact I've had on their lives
Mhm.
and how whatever I've done, whether it be big or small, has impacted them or really left a lasting
Yeah.
impression. Those thank you cards mean so much to me that if and when, which I seldom do, get down on myself and I need that confidence booster, I open those up and I'm reminded of who I am and what sort of purpose I've served in their life at one point in time. And it excites me for who else I'm going to meet in the future and whose lives I'm going to impact as well. But yeah, I'd say conversations, whether it be with my dad, my friends, over food. And I would say with my friends, I think what I've realized too is we're not alone. I think oftentimes we think we're the only one that's
Going
going
through
through
it.
something.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, poor me. But sharing, you realize there is a sense of being vulnerable and knowing that what you're going through, someone else is, and
Yes.
you might be helping them, or
Yep.
you think they're helping you, you're helping them even more. So again, it's a power of relationships, connectivity,
Yeah.
conversations. Again, just being me has really helped me get to where I'm at now. And again, unapologetic, messy, I'm not all put together at times and even crying at times. We don't like to cry, but sometimes you have to shed that out and get that out there. And in doing that, I have been told many, many, many times how thank you for sharing your
Yeah.
because your story helped me understand what off their chest and offload it because we carry so much on our shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And how great is it to release that?
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, I would definitely say that those are probably the top 3 ways that, I get a confidence boost. My
Yeah.
dad's a confidence boost and a butt kicker all at the same time, but it's needed.
I love it.
Needed to
So
remind me that I am
yeah.
amazing.
And so it's the impact is basically getting out of your head in those moments where you're experiencing self-doubt for whatever reason. Food and conversations with loved ones, And then reminders. I love the reminders in particular, and that it was such a lovely lens you put on it. It is important to have those reminders. It's not that you've forgotten, but it is very easy to forget impact. And those cards serve as a reminder of what you've done in the lives you've touched. But I love that next step that you shared, that it also makes you excited about who else you can meet and where else you will have impact. That's very powerful. That's forward thinking. I've done it before. I can do it again. That's awesome. I love that. Those are very powerful reminders. And yes, sometimes it might come
Yeah,
as,
you don't know.
I was just gonna say it might come as tough love and it might come as soft love, but the different versions of it serve their purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say too, you know, talk to yourself with love,
Mm,
right? Talk to yourself with love, with patience. Give yourself the grace that's needed.
yeah.
That when you think you need to have it together, it's okay to not be okay. And in my times where I haven't been okay, is when I forged the most meaningful
Mm,
connections. I
mhm.
really have.
Yeah.
Just being raw and
Yeah. The
real,
vulnerability. Yes.
not being this polished version of who I think other people need to see. It's who I'm showing up as, my
Yeah.
authentic true self.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like people will resonate with you much more.
Absolutely. The authenticity also gives people permission to be authentic themselves. And sometimes people don't realize that they are putting on a show because there have been these sometimes not so subtle messages about what's acceptable and what's appropriate. And people start to feel like, well, these aspects of who I am or how I might show up are probably not going to be welcome, are probably not going to be well received. But when you show up as you and do the things that are you to do, including vulnerability and where things are not perfect, it invariably releases someone to do the same. It inspires, encourages, or permits someone to do the same. It's like, oh, Jennie walked in here as Jennie. That's okay to do. Oh, we can do that. I did not know that. And then it frees them to do just that thing. So it ends up being leading by example simply by being you.
Yeah, I love color. So if you ever met me in person, I wear color like I'm wearing today. I show up just wearing color. I wear colorful. Oh, Jenny's coming to the office, or I told my husband I needed to wear something colorful today. Or, oh, like, look, do you like this shirt I'm wearing? It's color. And I'm like, yes, that vote of confidence is sometimes what people need.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
everybody's wearing black and gray and blah, blah, blah. Oh,
Yeah.
black is slang. Just show up as you. And that's what I think is so great is I don't care. Your opinion of me is none of my business. Truth. Your opinion of me is none of my business. Whether or not you like me, whether you love me, it's great if you love me, but if you don't like me, I'm not going to carry that on my back because that has nothing to, I'm still going to show up. Do I love me? I'm the one that has to go to sleep with myself and wake up with myself every
Yes.
day. So if I don't love something about myself, maybe that's time to make those little changes. But I show up as me because I don't know who I'm going to inspire in the process. And truly, that is what excites me the most.
It's also the easiest thing to do, to be you.
Yeah,
Anything else takes way more
the best thing.
than it's more energy
Yeah.
required. Now you're already working on a doctorate, ma'am. You've already done something that is bold to do because there's plenty to do with work. It could very easily be something that falls on the back burner. So we'll be celebrating that when the time comes, Dr. Walker. But what is your next bold move?
Well, I just recently took on a volunteer opportunity to work with some at-risk youth who are in a transitional home to teach financial literacy.
Oh, very
Never
cool.
done that before,
Yeah.
but I am very passionate about financial literacy.
Hmm.
These are women within Los Angeles that are part of this transitional program,
Yeah.
and they're learning how to save money and how to set their lives up for themselves once they transition out of this program.
Yeah.
So as if I didn't have enough going on, I decided to volunteer. But you know what's interesting? I will tell you how this happened. How did this opportunity happen? I was sitting eating lunch at a training, and a colleague who I don't work with, she doesn't work in my office. Um, I was just talking amongst about 8 people, and I was like, yeah, financial literacy really needs to be part of curriculum for youth, whether it be through elementary school going all the way up through
Yes.
high school. How
Yes.
to write checks. You know, most people don't write checks anymore, but how to write checks. Why is credit important? What does credit do for you in your future? What is a savings account? What is a high yield savings account? What is a checking account? What are credit cards? What do they serve the purpose of? And I am very passionate about it because I don't feel like, you know, all the other things we learn in school, they're important. But this is really important because this affects your life,
Yes.
right? Am
Yes.
I going to use algebra when I go to Target and shop? Probably not. How often do we use trigonometry in our day-to-day work? We don't. Those are good to know, but I would say essential life skills circumvent around financial literacy. We are a country that's fully in debt. We don't know why. We're big on materialism, and I really feel passionate about teaching youth, particularly 18 to 24, 25-year-old women,
Mhm.
exactly where do they want to be in life and how can we get there. um, and so I was having this conversation at lunch with some colleagues, again just talking and saying how important I think that it is. A week later, get an email from colleagues saying, hey, happy birthday. I know you're out of office, but I'm a board member for a nonprofit for women and youth in transitional homes. You talked about financial literacy. Would you be open to having a talk about it? And I was like, okay, yeah. Keep in mind, this is, excuse me, back in April. We're now in September.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
September 13th is when I'll have this workshop with these young women. And well, again, over food, over conversation, ended up happening and having this bold move to say yes to something that adds more to my plate. But what gives me the most satisfaction, even though I haven't done it, is knowing the impact I'm going to have on these young women's lives.
Absolutely.
Again, it is in giving
Yeah.
that we receive.
Yeah.
Okay. I had to learn credit. I had to learn all of these
Yeah.
things. You know, when I was younger, I racked up credit cards and I thought I was buying all the hot purses and going out with my friends and didn't understand the importance of credit.
Yeah.
And and so now as an older adult, I understand the importance of it. I've bought my own home, bought several cars. I've had all those accomplishments. And purchasing my own home as a single woman in the state of California is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah.
So doing that for myself, that was a big, bold move. I dreamt of it, and then here I am standing in it. Is huge.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And just giving back. Like I said, it was a conversation I had. Someone listened to it,
Yeah.
someone heard, their board member saw an opportunity and said, would you do it? I could have said no, but I didn't want to
Right.
because I knew the impact it was going to have,
Mhm.
that it was purposeful. That conversation, that colleague who I've never ever worked with heard something, emailed me and said, hey, there's an opportunity. And when opportunity knocks, I'm the first one to say yes to a bold move like that. Now, my family and friends say, geez, where are you going to get the time? You do so much.
Yeah.
That to me is that bold move. It's saying yes to something that, do I want to spend a Saturday doing that? At first, it's like, no, I want to be selfish with my time. But the other side of me says yes, because what it's going to do for these women,
Yeah.
that excites me.
Yes.
That is part of that servant leadership. That is part of giving back to others
Yeah.
and pouring into others, because I kid you not, if and when I get these thank you emails and cards, that is what's going to boost that confidence when I don't feel like the confidence is there for me.
And it's often about energy, Jenny. You are giving your time and gaining energy in a different way. I've been on, I remember the very first board that I joined, one of the things that I had an opportunity to do was have conversations around strategy related to literacy. And it would have been a long day, end of day, the department is finally, just the outpatient side of the department is finally wound down, and it's time to transition. I'm just going to do this virtual board meeting before I go home. For all intents and purposes, it's end of day. It should be a draining experience. And yet getting on those calls, talking about what was possible was energizing. So it's more often about the energy. You're giving time, but you're anticipating this impact, and it's invigorating to be part of making a difference, especially in an area that you care about. So the point that you made about giving the time, but knowing the impact is spot on. You will be energized by it. And the funny thing is, it will more than likely energize you for other aspects of life because you're being true to this whole, to do something that is meaningful and impactful in a way that has also translated how you live your life as well.
Isn't it funny? I'm going back to the nonprofit sector. I came from nonprofit. Can't
Yes.
can't
Yes.
leave. I can't leave. I just can't stop volunteering and can't stop doing. And, my ask of these young women will be to create that ripple effect. I want them to teach others.
Yeah.
I
Which they
want them
will.
to bestow the knowledge I give them
Yeah.
to others,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's not stop there, right? A very small analogy is okay. If you see yourself buying a house, do you need Starbucks every day, right? Could you sacrifice a couple Starbucks to put some money away for that? It's the little things that amount to something.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes think we don't think we don't think big picture. We think very granular. We think day to day. If you dream it, you will achieve it. Again, it's sacrifice, but yeah, that's my big ask every workshop with these young ladies
Congratulations.
is. And despite my plate being full, thank you, with my doctorate, I'm like, I gotta write papers, I got this. I was like, I'm gonna manage my time because what matters most is others, and I'll be okay.
I'm looking forward to hearing the update on that. Looking forward to celebrating you, Dr. Walker, when the time comes. All of these time investments will be manifest in other ways and in the impact that you have on the other side of this, really even along the journey, because it's not a one-stop, everything happens suddenly. You're already in it, you're already doing the work and already having an impact, as you have throughout your career, throughout your life, will continue to be the case. I'm so pleased that we had the opportunity to meet, and I'm looking forward to being alongside as all of these things happen, getting these updates directly as they happen. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. This is great.
Thank you so
So
much
thank
for
you.
saying
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
glad that we had the introduction, our one conversation all that time ago, and that we've had the opportunity to capture this as well. I'm looking forward to doing this again. I'm sure we'll have something to share, some update, and have an opportunity to reconvene and share more to come on this. Thanks for saying yes, Jenny.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Idara.
All right, that's been our confidence conversation with Jennie Walker. Thanks for watching.